Hello everyone, and welcome to a remote sensing activity tutorial. And in this tutorial, we're going to cover activity 1, and I want to walk through all of the steps from the very beginning, assuming that you have done nothing for this activity. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the Blackboard Shell for this course, and that's kind of where I am right now. And you'll see that I'm in student preview mode, so in theory, I should be seeing the same things that you see. So first thing you're going to want to do on the left-hand side of the shell, you're going to go over here to Learning Modules. You're going to click this. And then you're going to see all of the learning modules that we have so far. And because this is the Activity 1 module, you're going to go to Week 1, Electromagnetic Radiation. And then you're going to skip down all the way down to where it says Week 1 Assignment. And you're going to see two different files. You're going to see Activity 1 PDF, that is the instructions. And you're going to see Activity 1 image.tiff. And you're going to want to make sure that you download both of these. So I'm going to download Activity 1 image.tiff. I'm going to left click on Activity 1 image. And you'll see that it by default starts to download it. And hopefully you will see something appear down here in the lower left hand corner indicating that it's being downloaded. So what I would do is I would right click on this and then I would click on show in folder, and this is going to let me see where the computer put it. Most likely it's going to be in your downloads. So I'm going to then, once I see this, I'm going to copy. So right click and copy, or Control C, depending on how comfortable you are with hotkeys. And I'm going to put this somewhere that I know for a fact where it is. And I'm going to put this on my desktop. I've created a folder just for this course called GIS 302, and you'll see that I've created a folder called Activity 1. So now I know for a fact, once this is copied, I hit Control V. You can also right click and click paste. I know for a fact that I know exactly where this image is, and I know that it's going to be here every time. Now, if you're working on the remote desktops, the VMware, the virtual machine, whatever you want to call it, putting things on the desktop is a very bad idea. So you're going to want to make sure that if you do put something on the desktop, you're going to want to make sure that you email it to yourself before you log off the system. But anyway, I'm working on a laptop, so this is fine. So I've got it on Activity 1 folder. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open up ArcGIS Pro. And I think this is where a lot of you are having issues. So we're going to walk through this once and for all so that everybody understands how to do this. So the way that I would guarantee you're going to get it is down here in the lower left, you're going to see the Windows 10 icon for Start. You're going to click that. And they're just going to type in ARCGIS. And then at some point, you're going to see ArcGIS Pro pop up under Apps. And it's kind of this globe inside of a hexagon here. And you're going to click that once. You're going to left click it one time. And then you're going to see it start to initialize. And then hopefully, you'll be brought to this screen right here. And this is where a lot of people trip up. We're going to be using our Farmingdale credentials here. And to do that, you have to click on your ArcGIS organization URL. Sometimes it'll also say enterprise login, but it should say your organization's URL. In here, you're going to type in Farmingdale SC, all lowercase, exactly like that, Farmingdale SC. Then you're going to click continue. And if you've done it right, you should see Farmingdale State College pop up here. You're going to click this. This is a button. You're going to click it, left click it. If you get a script error, that's perfectly fine. You're just going to click yes. And then you should hopefully see your Farmingdale State College credentials page just like you'd see with Blackboard. So you're going to log into this. and click sign in. And then it should hopefully initialize, and then you'll be brought to this page. Now I want to point out one thing. If for some reason when you open up Pro, if you are brought directly to this page, you can always confirm that you're logged in properly by looking up here where it should say your name or your email, Farmingdale State College. If it says anything else other than your name or email and Farmingdale State College, there will be a sign out or a sign in button, and you want to make sure that you click sign out, sign in, and go through that process. So once you're here, 90% of the time, if you're starting an activity, you're going to want to use the map, blank maps template. So you're going to click map. It's going to ask you where you want to save it, and it's going to ask you what you want to call it. So I'm going to put this on my desktop in here. I'm going to call it activity _1. Okay. So it'll take just a second to open a new map document. And you should hopefully see, once it's done loading, you should see something that looks very similar to this. And this is just a topographic map of the United States. So this is sort of the ground zero step for everything we will ever do in this class, getting to this point right here. So once you've done that, the next thing we're always going to want to do is we're going to want to start to add data so that we can start to play with imagery. All right. And we do that by going up here to map, going to where it says add data. So hold on. Right. You want to go up here to the map tab in the upper left hand corner, click on that. Then you're going to want to go to where it says add data. You're going to want to left click on the button, and that'll bring you into something that looks like your normal open file folder. You're going to want to go through here, and you want to go to wherever you saved your imagery. So I'm going to go again to my course examples, GIS 302, activity 1, and you want to find the image that you want to load. And in this case, it's activity_1_image.tiff. You're going to left click it one time, right? Left click it one time. If you double click it, you've gone too far, and you'll see a bunch of things like band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4. Right, once it finally loads. We don't want to do that. Right, we want to left click activity image.tiff one time and then click OK. Now this might take a minute, especially if you're working on the virtual machines. So it's going to cut, and I'll show you what the image is going to look like once it's brought up. Okay, so if at some point during that process you had a pop-up screen that was talking about building pyramids, you want to click no. I've already got my settings configured so it doesn't do that, but you will probably see a pop-up talking about pyramids. Just click no. Okay, so now we have the image, and this is what your image should look like. We're not going to play around with the image. The point of this activity was to just simply get it in. So what's going to end up happening in every single activity, from this activity all the way through the end of the class, something that you're going to be wanting to do pretty commonly is going to be turning layers on and off. So the way we do that is over here on the left hand side in the contents pane, you'll see that we have what's called the drawing order. And the drawing order has all of the data that we've loaded in, including the topographic map that's sort of loaded in by default. So what you can do is you can turn layers on and off by clicking the check mark. So if I click this once, you'll see that the topographic map has disappeared. If I click it again so that it's checked, you'll see that it appears again. And I can do the same thing with the image. All right, off, on. And that's going to be really important as we go through the activities to be able to sort of keep yourself sane in terms of not looking at everything and all the data. Right? You can turn things on and off. Okay. So the final thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create what are called layouts. And layouts are the way that we take what we're doing in Pro and we put it into a format that we can bring into, say, a Word document. And the way that we do that is up here along the top again, we're going to use the Insert tab. So right now we're on the Map tab. We're going to use the Insert tab. So we're going to left-click Insert. And then we're going to want to make, again, what's called a layout. So along the left-hand side here, we're going to click where it says New Layout. We're going to click that, left-click it once. I tend to do everything more or less in ANSI portrait letter. So this is 8.5 by 11. If we left-click this, it's going to open a new layout. And you'll see a layout is now available here. If we wanted to get back to the map that we were working on, we could click the Map tab here, and you'll see we're right back where we left off. If we wanted to make the layout, we can click on the Layout tab here. So Map for working with the data, Layout for creating that product that we can put into a Word document. Okay. So now that we're in the layout, we need to add things, right? Because right now it's just a blank sheet of paper. We need to add things to it. The first thing we need to add is our data set. All right, we need to get this map into this layout. And the way you do that is through the map frame. So if you left click on the map frame, you will see it says map. You're going to click default extent, and you'll see that my cursor, right, my mouse has now changed to a crosshair. And so what you do is you left click and drag. And you'll see that the dashed rectangle, right? I'm going to left click and drag and take up as much of the page as possible. And you'll see now that we have something. It looks kind of weird. We'll fix that in a second. But you see we actually have data now, right? We no longer have a blank page. So right now, this isn't particularly useful. What we need to do is we need to center this map frame, right? The data, we need to center it on the image that we loaded. And the way that we do that is we go over here to where it says activity_1image.tiff and we right click. This brings up everything that we can do. And then in the middle of the list, there's a zoom to layer. And this is going to, as the contextual pop-up says, zoom to the extent of the selected layer. So if I click that, you'll see that now our image that we were working with is now nice and front and center in the layout. So that right click, zoom to layer, that's a great way of making sure that what we're focusing on is in the middle center of the data of the document here. So now what I would recommend doing is I would recommend turning off the topographic layer because we don't need it. And so now you should have just the image. Two other things we often will want to add are a north arrow and a scale bar. And these are added through the map surrounds. North arrow, if you click on that, you'll see the mouse turns into a crosshair again. So just like before, we're going to click and drag and create a box. And then inside that box, the north arrow will appear. So that's how you add the north arrow. Left click, click and drag. And you can make it as big or as small as you want. I'm going to delete that one. Next is the scale bar. All right, you're going to click this. And again, mouse becomes cursor, crosshairs. Click and drag a box. So one thing to note with the scale bar is if you right click over here and you go to properties, you will get all these different properties. And we can change things like we can make the units. I want to do miles. All right, and you'll see the scale bar now has immediately changed to miles. So this isn't the best scale bar, but for the purposes of sort of explaining how this works, you get the idea that we can make the north arrow, make that a little smaller. All right, we can make the north arrow, the scale bar, we can drag in the data. So hopefully this makes sense. If any of this seemed confusing, I would encourage you to pause the video, go back and rewatch the parts you're confused about, because all that's left now is taking this layout and exporting it as a format that we can use. And we do that by going up here to the Share tab, so Share. And then there's going to be this Layout, Export Layout green arrow. You're going to click this, and it says Export the layout to a file on disk, which is exactly what we want to do. So we're going to click this. Again, we're going to have this thing that looks like something you would see in any other Microsoft product. And so I'm going to put this in my folder here, course examples. Okay. Now the big thing you want to do, you want to change save type to TIFF. And this will allow you to bring it into a Word document. And I'm going to call this activity 1 layout. I just hit the enter key. You'll see that it says exporting layout. And now if I go to the activity 1 folder, you'll see that I have the activity 1 layout. If I double click this to open it, you'll see that we have the north arrow, the image, and the scale bar. And we could then take this and we could put it into a Word document for submission. Hopefully this made sense. I know this was a slightly longer video. If any of this was confusing, I would encourage you to pause the video, go back and rewatch the parts you're confused about. And as always, please reach out. Thank you.